Hey everybody, this is my thoughts on Shadow Warrior Classic Redux. This is the fairly recent re-release of the original Shadow Warrior along with two expansion packs, Wanton Destruction and Twin Dragon. Now I'm not really going to talk too much about the expansion packs here because I do have plans on actually completely reduxing my original Shadow Warrior review and including both of those expansions in that Redux. But that's for another video. This is just my thoughts on the re-release itself. Did they do a good job with it? How is it compared to the original DOS release? So on and so forth. Well, the first thing you have to understand is that this is basically a source port. It allows you to play the original Shadow Warrior along with those two expansion packs on modern systems without any sort of tweaking whatsoever. It does support modern resolutions, and it also even supports voxels, so if you want to switch the various items to be voxels instead of sprites, you can do that. Now keep in mind, that only changes the weapon and item pickups. It doesn't have any effect on the actual character sprites. And honestly, it really doesn't add all that much to the game. I'm not entirely sure why they decided to put that in there, but I guess it's nice for the people who actually care about that. But anyway, that's all thanks to the renderer being changed to OpenGL. They've done a really good job with that, in fact. It runs extremely well, of course, which is what you would expect from a game that was released in 1997. And the support for higher resolutions is definitely a big plus. Other than that, though, the presentation wasn't really changed all that much. You have much cleaner menus this time around, and they remixed the main theme for the main menu, but that's pretty much it. The story and the gameplay were also left unchanged except for two aspects. First off, the mouse support. It's not like in the original build engine releases where the mouse just always felt really weird. It's actually kind of hard to describe just how awkward the mouse controls feel in the old school build engine games. If you've played any of them on DOS, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But the mouse just doesn't really do what you want it to do. It never really feels like you have full control over your look and aiming with the mouse in the old school DOS versions. Now, I'm not sure if they fixed this with patching or if it was just always like this, but I know GGG Man Lives did a video on this and he said that the mouse controls were kind of weird. But I never really ran into that problem. In fact, the mouse controls in this were incredibly smooth and worked extremely well. So I guess it's possible they patched it since he did his video on it, but I'm not really sure if that's the case or not. Regardless, the mouse controls feel pretty natural in this, and the control scheme is fully rebindable as well, so you can mess around with that to your heart's content. The other change is that they introduced achievements, and this is both through GOG Galaxy and Steam. Now, I have it on GOG, so the achievement pop-ups keep coming up for Galaxy, and they're not going to show up in my Steam profile or anything. But I can confirm that they do in fact work. So if achievements are your kind of thing, then this game has quite a few of them that you can mess around with. But other than that, it's basically just the same old Shadow Warrior you know and probably love if you're into old school FPSs. Everything that made the original great and the two expansion packs not so great is still here. It's still an absolute blast to play, and if you're wanting to play Shadow Warrior, I'd say this is probably the version to go with. And that comes at the expense of the multiplayer, because that is the one thing that Classic Redux doesn't have. And while the multiplayer was certainly quite a bit of fun in its day, it was also a massive pain in the ass to get working. Granted, that was par for the course on pretty much every multiplayer game back then, but even still, it would be nice to be able to play this thing in multiplayer again, even if the player base for it is minuscule. So if they ever release a version of this that actually has multiplayer in it and that multiplayer works well, then I would recommend that over this, as long as it had the same content and all the other things were still equal. Because otherwise, I really can't see much reason to recommend the original release over this if you're going to be playing it on modern systems. Because the original release is still available, you can still get your hands on it through GOG or Steam, but I would say that this is simply a better version to play on modern systems because it's just a hell of a lot more compatible. If you go with the original release, you're going with the game running through DOSBox, the mouse controls are going to be a bit messy, so if you're not comfortable with using only a keyboard, then you're probably going to have a bad time with it. And playing the expansion packs can be a bit of a pain in the ass if you're playing them on the original release. That said, I would recommend that if you are going to pick this up, pick it up when it's on sale, because the asking price of $10 is just a bit steep considering that the original release is basically free these days. At least it was when I checked earlier today on GOG and Steam. Now, keep in mind, the version that I'm looking at in this video is called Classic Redux. The version that is considered free and is still the DOS release is Classic Complete, so don't mix the two up. But at least at the time of publishing this video, Classic Complete is free on GOG and Steam. Whereas the asking price for Classic Redux is $10, so that's why I say wait for it to go on sale before picking it up, because let's face it, it's hard to compete with free, even if the paid product is actually much more pleasant to play on modern systems. And if you are interested in picking this up, I will have links in the video description box to where you can check this out on both Steam and GOG. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in later videos.